Om Sri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today we will start a new series about the Bhakti Yoga. The in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan teaches us Karma Yoga, Dhyana, Bhakti and Gnana, everything. But chapter 12 talks about real Bhakti Yoga. Why did Krishna describe qualities of a Bhakta in the Bhakti Yoga chapter? Let's do some reflection and learn what he wanted us to learn. Who is a better yogi? Arjuna asks. One who worships your personal form with devotion, or one who meditates upon the formless absolute that is called Akshara Parabrahma. This is not merely a philosophical question. It is the question every spiritual seeker eventually will ask. Which path is easier? Which path is safer? Which path transforms me? Krishna's answer is profound. He says both paths ultimately lead to the same truth. However, for most people living in the world, Bhakti Yoga is more accessible because it engages the heart, the emotions, the daily life. But then Krishna does something unexpected. Instead of describing rituals, temples, chanting, or pilgrimages, he begins describing the character of a true devotee. Why? Because God is not interested merely in external worship. He is interested in transformation of the worshipper. So, why does Krishna describe qualities instead of practices? Suppose someone says, I chant the Lord's name every day. Krishna will ask you, has your anger reduced? Someone says, I visit many temples. And God will ask, have you become more compassionate? And someone will say, I have memorized many scriptures. The Lord will ask, do you still hate people? This is why chapter 12 is unique. Krishna shifts the focus from what we do to what we become. In Sanskrit, there is an important distinction. Kriya is an external action. Swarupa is inner nature. External actions are valuable only if they transform our inner nature. Otherwise, devotion becomes merely a religious activity. Bhakti is inner transformation. Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly teaches that devotion is measured not by ritual, but by transformation. The highest religion is that by which one develops loving devotion to the Lord. But the verse does not stop there. It says that this devotion must be ahaituki, without selfish motive. Apratihata, that means uninterrupted. Then comes the real result. The heart becomes completely peaceful. Notice the emphasis here. The proof of devotion is not excitement. The proof is inner peace. The Bhagavatam also give the same standard. The highest devotee sees God in every being and every being in God. Notice how closely this matches with Gita. No hatred, friendliness, compassion, equal vision. These are not separate teachings. The Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are describing the same spiritual maturity. Narada Bhakti Sutras The Narada Bhakti Sutras gives another beautiful definition. Narada says, Bhakti is supreme love for God, but immediately he explains its result. The true devotee becomes peaceful, free from worldly cravings, free from hatred, free from jealousy. In other words, love of God automatically becomes love towards all beings. That is called para bhakti. If devotion creates division, it is incomplete. If devotion expands the heart, it is genuine. Also, the Upanishads say the same thing. Isavasyamidagam sarvam. Everything is pervaded by the Lord. If everything belongs to God, how can I hate anyone? The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that from duality alone comes fear. Hatred arises from the feeling, I am separate. Love arises from the understanding. We are expressions of the same reality. Therefore, Krishna's description of the devotee is actually an application of the Upanishad version. So, Bhagavad Gita connects all yogas. Krishna has already taught in chapter 2 about what is equanimity means, what is Buddhi Yoga means, what is Atma means. And chapter 3 teaches us how to perform Karma Yoga. And chapter 4 describes how to understand that process, the divine knowledge. And then chapter 5 sees the same self in all. And chapter 6 will teach us how to master the mind through meditation. Now, in chapter 12, if all these teachings have become natural in your life, you are my devotee. That's what Lord Krishna says. So, bhakti is not separate from karma yoga, gnana yoga, or dhyana yoga. It is the flowering of all of them. Imagine that we planted a mango tree. The seed is the faith, that is Shraddha. Water is daily spiritual practice. Sunlight is scriptural knowledge. The soil is good company, that is called satsanga. What is the fruit? Not bigger rituals, not more arguments. The fruit is kindness, humility, compassion, forgiveness, and peace. If these fruits do not appear, we should nourish the tree better rather than merely decorating it. So, what is the practical message Lord Krishna want to give us? Whenever we study these verses, we should not ask, do I know this verse? Instead, ask, has my hatred decreased? Am I easier to live with? Do people feel peaceful around me? Have I become less possessive? Is my ego softer than it was a few years ago? Do I forgive more quickly? Do I remain calm during praise and criticism? These are the real examinations of spiritual life. So, in conclusion, Krishna did not give these qualities to create a checklist for judging others. He gives it to us as a mirror for every seeker. Every day we stand before this mirror and ask which of these qualities is growing in me. As our devotion matures, ritual becomes remembrance. Remembrance becomes surrender. Surrender becomes love. Love becomes wisdom. And wisdom blossoms into universal compassion. That's why Krishna concludes these verses by saying, such a devotee is dear to me. Because God is not merely pleased by worship, He is pleased when worship transforms the human heart into a reflection of His own qualities. So we have to remember the central message. What is that? Equanimity. And then looking at all the greatest proof of devotion is not how often we worship God, but how deeply God's qualities are reflected in our own life. Om Tat Sat.